Thank you so much. Fantastic to be here. I'm Ben Blume. I'm an investment partner at a venture capital fund called Atomico. We're a European-based multi-stage investor focused on backing Europe's most ambitious founders and helping them to build companies with kind of global potential. And today, I'm delighted to be here with Antonis, with Oana, two founders who I've had the great fortune to work with over the last few years since Atomico led both of their Series A rounds. Antonis, founder of HarborLab, bringing transparency to, and a lot of AI now to the global shipping industry. Oana, bringing AI and real-time insights to logistics and warehousing. Super, with that, let's get started. Antonis, you started HarborLab in 2021. Shipping is one of the oldest industries on Earth, and it's incredibly manual and incredibly opaque, right? Like, you told me that a lot of things were still being done by fax machine even last year. So tell me, what was the problem you discovered that you found, and why had nobody cracked it before you guys came along?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. So I've been dealing with that problem all my professional life, which is disbursement accounting. So I'll try to give you a parallelism to understand the problem for the non-maritime people that we have here. So imagine that you're going with your car into a parking, and each floor of the parking to have a different pricing policy from the other, and each spot in each floor, different pricing policy again. So this is the chaos that exists in the ports right now around the world. So when a vessel goes into a port, no one actually knows what they have to pay. So I've been dealing with this problem since 2013. I have checked myself manually over 20,000 disbursement accounts up until the moment where I said, I had enough. This is the problem that I need to fix. Long story short, many have tried. Most have failed. The only ones that managed to do something are what we call BPOs, so business process outsourcing companies, where they started checking invoices elsewhere, where it was, let's say, cheaper to do that, but no one managed to do that with a scalable solution like an AI vertical company like us. So this is the problem that we're dealing with, and the problem that we are solving for one of the oldest industries in the world.
Fantastic. And Dexory, different industry, warehousing, logistics, similar instinct that things are being done in a very manual way. Clipboards, pens and paper, paper that gets put into trays that gets transcribed into warehouse management systems. You actually started in a different area in kind of retail and then focused in on this problem a little bit later in the journey of the company. What made you kind of pivot, and then what made you kind of figure out that warehousing, logistics, and the very manual problems there were the ones that you wanted to take new technology and apply it to?
Cool. So similarly, hello everyone. Really, really excited to be here in the heat, coming from the UK. Although, last week was a bit of an exception there as well. First of all, to Ben's point, what we do is we digitize warehouse spaces. There's a lot kind of more behind that, but when we first started looking at it, when we had been in robotics for probably over a decade at the time, trying kind of different fields, always kind of had this approach of using autonomous robots to collect data and information from physical spaces, which today has a name. It's called physical AI, and it's great that the world finally kind of caught up with the idea that we had. But it was after the pandemic that we kind of, in a way, stumbled upon the market of logistics and warehouses. We had no background in it, not like you, Antonis, like we actually had no idea how warehouses operate. And everyone kind of saw all these videos online with full automated warehouses, kind of almost no humans around, where everything kind of ran perfectly, where that's probably like 0.0001% of the market. Like the majority of warehouses are still very, very manual. A lot of kind of labor is involved in there. So after the pandemic, I think the whole industry realized that it was running blind in a lot of kind of different areas because, whereas before they could just afford to throw more people at the problem, they could afford to kind of delay certain things. After the pandemic and every one of us moving to buying online, I think we got used to like a different type of experience of getting our product at the right time, at the right kind of quantity and everything else. So we were kind of approached by the industry with an ask to help solve their visibility problem. But I think the problem itself wasn't the only driver. It was more just the industry also being ready to adopt technology. Again, I go back to 2020 and how that kind of shifted a lot of mentalities in the sector that we play in supply chains. It kind of made a lot of players realize they have to embrace tech, they have to kind of operate in a different rhythm. So it was the problem plus the readiness that made us realize, this is the right time to actually approach and solve it. Because if you would have been a few years before, I think, again, it would have been too early to drive.
Fantastic. One of the things that's kept me excited and made investing in companies working in these kind of industries and bringing this kind of AI product to market, my investment focus has been that it's not the place where maybe AI is doing the most kind of novel thing, but it's a place where AI is creating real business value. And the reason for that is because the cost of mistakes, of errors, of a misclassified disbursement account, of a missing pallet of goods in a warehouse is so high, and the business disruption is so high, that the value of AI is very significant and very quantifiable as well. So maybe Antonis first, give us a little bit more color around what does the day-to-day life of somebody using HarborLab's products in a company look like?
Yeah. So imagine that you manage 10 vessels. 10 vessels do roughly 200 port calls around the world, so per year. So what you need to do is that for every time that a vessel goes into a port, you need to contact with the local authorities and the local port agent. You need to get the official port tariff, so the documentation that supports actually how you need to calculate and check the invoice. So those are 200, 300 pages for each port, written in the local language of each port as well, so good luck with finding what you want to find. Unfortunately, during the whole HarborLab journey, we identified that in some ports this happens on purpose, because in some places around the world, the port authorities may be even more corrupted than the people that are doing that part of the job. So what we do right now is that with the use of AI, when we receive an invoice, you click on a button, AI goes and allocates and finds in those 300 pages where that expense lies, how it is being calculated, and it tells you, do you want me to write down the dispute email to the port agents so I can start the negotiation process? To give you an example, right now with actual data from the platform, we see that we increase the productivity of those people that were doing my job back in my shipping days by 85%, and we managed to save 3 times the amount of money that people could save before the use of AI.
It's it's extremely compelling, and that's the kind of ROI that I think really sells the product. Well, maybe same question for you, and I think there's some incredibly exciting new AI features and a kind of completely new AI take on the product that you guys have released or coming out soon. So maybe you could talk about with that, how does that really change the day-to-day life of a warehouse manager or the team running a warehouse?
Yeah, and it's quite interesting because when we first launched, we started with a very specific, very kind of direct use case, which was like we're scanning these environments, we're comparing that with data that our customers have in a lot of other systems. We can very quickly point to inconsistencies, errors, problems. So it's a very much kind of a reactive problem solving direct to where the issue is. But what we noticed is kind of observing our customers using the product is they were downloading a lot of the data in CSV files and spreadsheets and try to kind of crunch it and create pivot tables to understand a lot more than just the inventory information. So how they can optimize the space, how they can optimize the walking routes inside the warehouse. So a lot of kind of operational elements that can make the site more efficient, which was kind of step one for us. I mean, obviously we can just automate that for you at a click of a button. Yep. So we launched one set of features, but then we ended up by giving them too many insights. And then they actually realized, well, there's now a lot of information bombarding us. So how can we sort it? How can we start working on the things that are the most burning? So this is how our new set of features kind of bring in AI was born, pretty much driven by the customer. And what we do is we allow everyone in the warehouse to pretty much, based on their job role, what they have to do on a daily basis. At the moment they log into the platform, they kind of have, these are the key areas that you have to look at right now because they are kind of creating either bottlenecks or you're losing money because of them, like your team is not the most efficient. So it's very, very personalized to every single role. And it starts with what can you do immediately to solve a problem rather than here's some data, let's analyze it, let's create the insight, and then move into action. So that move to action is the most important one that I think kind of the AI angle is bringing into it.
It's really interesting, and I think it links to the next thing I was going to ask, which is, you're both working in domains where the people in those businesses, the people running the warehouses, checking the, managing the disbursement processes, they're not people who are unsophisticated, right? They're deep domain experts in what they do, and over time they've built great expertise in managing their function of the business, which is operationally complex, often thin margins, but they're not necessarily people who are the kind of first movers in adopting AI. And so, what you were talking about, Oana, just now in terms of helping to kind of build and tailor the product to their specific needs and the things that they've built expertise in how to do. sounds like an example of maybe the answer to the question, which was going to be, what does it actually take to sell in? What does it take to land a customer in these markets? Maybe you could talk a little bit more about what you've learned about how best to do that.
Yeah, and it's interesting, I've seen kind of what you're just saying. I was actually talking to somebody in my team this morning about a very similar thing within our own company, which is, you would expect, because we're in the tech sector and AI first, that our own kind of teams would understand how to use AI tools themselves as well, right?
Yeah.
But actually, this person kind of works on our go-to-market engineering side, and he was like, I'm struggling to get them to ask the right questions in all the tools that we have, because to your point, you will have a few people in the side that are actually domain experts, and they are those minds that you want to replicate. So what we're kind of doing with the way the system is organized now is like as you log in, you kind of get these are the key things you should kind of look at. You're trying to distribute that intelligence from the one domain expert to like the whole team. So then every picker becomes the best picker, like every inventory manager becomes the best inventory manager.
Yeah.
And that's at a site level, but also across different sites. So the sooner you can kind of get to that action point and understand like how the best within their teams would look at the data to kind of find the things that are interesting to them and give that to every single other person in the team, then you're going to see that immediately that business benefit.
That makes sense. And I guess, when you're selling both to the kind of user and the kind of economic buyer, that kind of narrative is what resonates?
100%, and that's a very interesting point, obviously, because when you are on the warehouse floor, when you are in the ports, that's not your decision maker from a financial perspective. Yeah. So I think doing it in this way, in terms of kind of showing very quickly those benefits, is what enables you to then, first of all, land the customer, of course, but for us, a big element is also expanding with customers, because we work with warehousing providers that have thousands of sites across the world. So the sooner you get to that value, then your buyer kind of says, okay, I get it now. Let's continue working together.
Super. Slightly different topic now. So, we've been talking about building AI products and selling them into traditional industries, but I think, we're also seeing an amazing trend right now of, founders of technology companies becoming kind of AI-pilled or kind of AI-focused themselves. And I remember you called me a few weeks ago, and you were probably a month ago now, and you were extremely excited because you just shipped your first line of code into the actual product. So, you've made the shift from, the CEO of this company to the kind of maybe the kind of key AI evangelist of HarborLab. Tell me, how that's gone, the journey you've been on, and what impact you're seeing on the organization through that.
Yeah, I think that as startups, it would be unfair to ask, big players in our industries to change their business model if we are not also into that part. Wanting to change our own business model and disrupt our own companies, because AI can bring a huge disruption to every single company. So what we did is that, with ADHD, sometimes you procrastinate and you do not want to do things that, believe it will take too much time and effort. So at some point I said, okay, I need to hire someone in product marketing. But what if I do it myself? So I started taking everything that I had learned from doing sales in HarborLab, and I created the battle cards and the product marketing material to give it in our sales team in just a week. After that, once I saw that this is actually successful and it is being utilized across the teams, then my team said, okay, we now need to go and buy an emailing system for maritime. We went there, we did a process, we said, how much will the cost be? And I said, no, I'm not giving that amount of money to buy an emailing system. And we built it ourselves in a week. So for us, and what we see is that it's the mode, it's the speed of execution. And we're not talking about MVPs because, okay, MVPs, everyone can build right now if you have the right mindset, and actually, if you can dream of it. If you can dream of it, you can build it. Yeah. This is the beauty of AI. To do it a scalable product, then yes, you probably need someone else. So my CTO and myself, we are working during the weekends to build those new tools. But actually, we do it out of the thrill and out of the fun. It is, for us that we started a startup, the most fun part is the start. It's where we put our hands on the dirt, and AI actually gives you back that ability. Even if the company has managed to scale, you can solve company problems right now yourself again. We did a big demo to the team in HarborLab, and now we face another problem. Everyone is building on AI, So the CTO is trying to find the way to structure those tools that we are building. So we are disrupting right now the business model that we had a year ago.
It's fascinating, and I think many of the companies we work with are going through these journeys right now, and I think the opportunity is huge. I was talking about this with another founder earlier in the week, and she described the time she spends at the weekends and in the evenings building tools as like the dessert of her work week. She's like, it's the bit that I really look forward to at the end of the week. So I like that analogy. We've only got a couple of minutes left. Maybe we can move to a kind of closing question. The theme of the conversation was all the lessons you've learned selling AI and selling new technology into these industries. Maybe one or two things you can leave other founders building in these areas with about what you've learned through hard yards and what advice you would give.
Yeah, I can probably start. And I mean, it's what I was saying earlier. The most important thing is understand very, very quickly exactly what benefit you're bringing with whatever tools, whatever product, whatever tool you're bringing into the market, because the sooner you kind of get to exactly that benefit in a very quantifiable way. This is what I mean. I don't just mean like, oh, we're going to help them be more efficient. I mean, okay, by what and in which way and exactly where are you going to feed into that? Because at the end of the day, especially if you're selling to like B2B, regardless of the size of the business, and the panel before talked about a lot, right? It's like understanding what is that problem, what's the value it's bringing, so that I can build that business case internally to be able to buy the solution in the first place. And I talk to founders a lot. Like I think every week I have multiple conversations with people starting off, and I always challenge them a lot on like, do you really know your value proposition? Do you really know who's buying the solution? Who's going to use it? Like, don't assume. Like, just go very, very deep. And then, I mean, that's kind of like be the one differentiator between the trials and the POCs we were talking earlier to actually kind of scaling up the technology.
Super. Antonis?
Absolutely, I agree. For us and in the shipping industry, time is literally money. So this is how the vessels are getting paid, right? To transfer goods. So for us, it is all about speed of execution, a clear ROI, but also what is the value proposition, as you said, and who is the economic buyer, but also from their side, who is going to be the people that will drive the change internally, because it is one thing to build something that everybody wants to do it, but who is going to be the internal supporter into the implementation, especially in those very traditional industries that we are in.
Fantastic. Well, look, it's been a great conversation. Hopefully some useful ideas and thoughts to take away as you go and build your own companies or take that into the